Okay, Barmidbar, Chumash HaPekudim. Right, even though, you know, oddly enough, right, the Pekudim is just, in Parshas Barmidbar and a little bit of Naso, and that's it, to the best of my memory. And yet it got the name, Chazal were mechane it, Pekudim, Chumash HaPekudim. In English also was adopted numbers, right? Look at numbers and it's like it's not the bulk of Sefer Barmidbar, and yet it seems to be the outstanding feature. Truth is, much of Sefer Shmos, actually most of Sefer Shmos, and all of Sefer Dvarim was also said, pretty much Barmidbar. Maybe, I guess on Dvarim we could take that back. I don't know if Avar Yardin is a Midbar, so take that back. But but much of Shmos Vayikra, right? Were said in the Midbar also. It's like this Sefer, is shaykh to the Midbar. And numbers is dafka shaykh to the midbar, right? There's the Medrash Rabbah in the beginning of Mamish, the beginning of the parasha, right? One of the dominant themes of the Medrash is the Indian of Midbar. There are a lot of drushes. If you want to see drushes on the Indian philosophical side of Midbar, the Medrash Rav on Parshas Barmidbar is the place to go. So I hopped on that. This is the Midbar. So it goes on. And again, there's a theme of uniting, Midbar with numbers, where it says like this: that the Torah opened up Barmidbar, Barmidbar Sinai, B'chodesh Hasheni, B'shana Hashenis. That the Medrash likens this, that if you're going to give someone gedula, like it's going to be a ceremony, giving someone, knighting someone, or bestowing. All right, so you send out invitation, you publicize. It's going to be in such and such place, right? At such and such a time. So also, Akash was giving gedula liYisrael here by counting them. So is have to publicize that it's B'midbar Sinai, B'chodesh Hasheni, B'shana Hashenis. So it's a very interesting parallel that aside from the fact that Parshas Barmidbar are still within the Sphira, it's Mamash and Sphira's numbers, right? But there's an interesting parallel between the historical events and starting Sefer Barmidbar. Right, that Barmidbar is always read, the last Shabbos before Shavuos. It's always that way, right? So now, what does the pasuk say in Parshas Yisro? Right, so it says, "B'chodesh hashlishi bechol chodesh bayom hazeh bo Midbar Sinai." Right, they historically Am Yisrael came to Midbar Sinai on Rosh Chodesh Sivan, Mamash, the week of Shavuos. The week, Matan Torah was either Vav Sivan or according to Zayin Sivan, according to Rabbi Yossi, right? But actually, right? Rosh Chodesh Sivan. This last week is when they came to Midbar Sinai. So it works out by no coincidence. We always start Sefer Barmidbar, in this same week, approximately the same time when they came to Midbar Sinai, the week preceding, the week of Matan Torah. Now, Kairo Chazal Medayik, both over there and even Midrashim in our parsha also, that the Torah was given Bamidbar. The Torah was nitna be'esh u'b'mayim u'b'midbar, and in Divrei Torah niknim elamisha mesim atzmo kamidbar. You have to make yourself like a desert. Ma midbar hakol dashim bo, like midbar is hefker. So which is something that has to be understood. What exactly means. I have to make myself like the desert, right? And only that with that Torah's nicknames. But back in again the pasuk that we quoted from Parshas Yisro, Bayom Hazeh Bao Midbar Sinai. Right, on this day they came to Midbar Sinai, and we're talking about Rosh Chodesh Sivan, like a week before, but still Bayom Hazeh. So Rashi brings from Chazal the obvious question. Should say Bayom Ahu. Bayom Hazeh is present tense. Right, so as a teacher, the Torah should always be like new in your eyes. Right?
I'm sorry, which one should it say? Which one would be most appropriate?
Bayom Ha-Hu, that day. Because we're talking about something that happened already. It says but the pasuk says Bayom Hazeh, on this day, Hazeh Loshen Hove, present tense. Bayom Hazeh Bo Midbar Sinai. Right? So on which Chazal comment, Rashi brings this Chazal right there on the spot, that Divrei Torah have to always be new to you as if today they were commanded. So the question is, why are you dropping this allusion, in connection to their coming to Midbar Sinai? The Torah is being given a week later, but in connection to coming, Bayom Hazeh Ba'u Midbar Sinai, in connection to that, you're saying the Torah is being always new to you. Again, this obviously is alluding to something about what Chazal say in our parsha. Now that the Torah is nitan b'midbar, because the person has to make himself like a midbar, and that's how Torah is nicknames. That Bayom Hazeh Bo Midbar Sinai, on this day it came to Midbar Sinai, that has something to do with, making the Torah seem new to you perpetually. Now this year, it worked out punkt that, this year Shabbos Parshas Barmidbar came out on Erev Shavuos. So agav that we posed a question that Kayadua, on Erev Shavuos there was a new acceptance of to keep the Torah. The famous Naaseh v'nishma of Parshas Mishpatim was said on Hey Sivan. Rashi says in Parshas Mishpatim. Right? However, the question is, why is that necessary? We read in Parshas Yisro that it was either Gimel or Dalet Sivan. Klal Yisrael already proclaimed Kosher Diber Hashem Naaseh. Right, so why was there the need for another acceptance on Erev Shavuos? And that's where they said, the famous Naaseh v'nishma.
Since Naaseh alone intimates that whatever it is they will hear, so therefore there's a redundancy in them. Right.
Yeah, they already said.
There doesn't seem to be any additional Kabbalah. Naaseh v'nishma, after they've already said Naaseh. Naaseh implies Masha Nishma. Okay.
Right. So, and they said that already either on Gimel or Dalet Sivan as per the Psukim in Parshas Yisro. So why is it necessary again on Erev Shavuos? Right. So now two more kashas. It's a Davar Yadua from the Sifrei Chasidus and the Sifrei Musar. They both say that the 49 days of the Omer are connected to Memches Tvorim Shatar Niknes Behem. So the obvious question is, it's off by one, right? So they in the Sefer Siach Sarfei Kodesh from they bring from the Kotzker, I believe. Right? So, well, the 49th day you review them all. Do Chazara. So that sounds almost contrived, right? That's right. But very, very big people have said that, so I guess I think we have to look into that, right? And lastly, a kasha that we've asked, previously, right? But we'll shed new light on this kasha. Right? The Torah says Tisperu Chamishim Yom, and yet we only count 49. The 50th is not counted. So now, it's time to revisit the sugya of numbers that we started discussing in Parshas Bahar. Over there, you don't have to write this, but I'm just saying, I'm just reminding. Over there, we discussed numbers in terms of klalim and pratim. However, over here, we're going to discuss another dimension of numbers altogether. Right. Right. Now, we did mention back there that numbers are a mental activity. Right? Numbers are in the mind. Right? We spoke out from the Vilna Gaon, Cheshbon and Chashab are the same root. Right? Numbers are ideas. And we explained that that's, and that's chashivut, that's importance, right? And that's why davar shebaminyan, it has a number, is eno batel, right? This we all spoke out already, kamedumari. But now it's time to go a little bit deeper and be oimid on the difference between the pure number and the quantity. The pure number and the quantity. Everything that we said back in Parshas Bahar, we were talking about quantity. Quantity is in the mind. Now you decide to group things together as three. It's also heskemi. Haskama is ideas, right? We agree on the metric system. We agree on, the English system of measuring. That's all haskama. It's all in the mind, It's all by meeting of the minds that we come up with our quantities, whether we weigh in kilograms, grams, right?
Maybe so, appropriate the numbers is base 10 as opposed to some other base.
No, but still quantities, which is also in the mind, is not the same as the pure number. It's not the same as the pure number, right? And that's the very delicate nukuda we want to point out here. Quantity is mishtalshel from numbers. You need numbers to come to quantity, but the etzem mitzias of quantity is not one and the same as the etzem mitzias of the number. Right? Quantity is already talking about the interface between thought and the cheftza that you're thinking about or that you're measuring. Right? Quantity is a gvul. It's a gvul. It's a midah. It's a measurement. Right? It's a midah. It's a measurement. So as much as it's in the mind, the idea of a kilo or a pound is all in the mind. It was bahaskama that we came up with these, but still you're talking about now the gvulim that come from the numbers, right? You can't have quantity without numbers, right? That's true. That the gvulim is mishtalshel from the mispar, right? But numbers themselves are not a quantity. Quantity is already talking about an interface between the machshava and something physical. That I've measured it. I've thought about it. Right? And that's why quantities are bigvul. Quantity is always saying it's from here to here, and it is yay big, not and not bigger. Because it's already being mishtalshel to gashmias. It's the thought that's interacting with something physical, and that's why the quantity is a davar mugbal, and very much a stira to Ein Sof, infinity. But that's the quantity that number that comes from the numbers. Of course, without the idea of numbers, you can't come to quantity. But the number gufa is a pure idea. Right? there is a cheftza of 3 inches. I have a ruler. There's a cheftza of 3 inches. 3 inches is a physical quantity. It could be mufshat, abstract in the sense that I have 3 inches of cloth, or the steak is 3 inches thick. Halavai, aleinu, right? V'chahena. So it's only abstract in the sense that it's a quantity that could be applied to a lot of things, but it's still it's a gavul. But 3 inches is a quantity, but 3, the etzem musag 3 is not a quantity. 3 is a philosophical concept. And we get into this in Kabbalah. The Maharal and the Talmidei Gaon, revealed a little bit of the symbolism of numbers. That 3 represents that there's 2 poles and a mamutza, right? It's a sort of now is not the time, but the secret behind everyone's all asleep by the time you say the Echad Miyodea, Pesach time. But you should know that those that Rav Moshe Shapiro gave us 3 hour-long shiurim on Echad Miyodea.
I wake up for it.
What?
I'm not falling asleep. I'm waking up for it. That's my whole night is focused on being able to say that. You only get to say it once a year. It's such a beautiful.
No, but that's the point.
Yeah.
Echad Elokeinu, numbers are concepts.
Right.
Numbers are concepts, and these are the inyonim that are kesa. So what it means, shlosha avos, it doesn't mean there happen to have been 3 fathers. That's not the pshat. Pshat is 3, Zok the Maharal, represents that there's the 2 poles and there's a mimutza between them. And that's Abraham Chesed, Yitzchak Din, Yaakov Tiferes, right? Etc., 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 right? All the numbers are concepts, and this is, as it were, the aspect in Torah that's connected this concept.
But it's still the way the Rav is defining quantity. That's quantity. The Rav said.
No, shlosha miyodea, that
you're attaching it to the avos. So that's a kefse here. 4, you're attaching it to imavos.
No, but I'm attaching to the avos, but not as a quantity. The pshat is that the Indian that there were some shalosh avos is not b'mikra. There happened to have been 3. It played out the concept of the number 3.
Oh, you see here.
You see, it's not like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Benjamin Franklin. 3 founding fathers.
Okay.
No. I don't know how many are considered founding fathers in the United States. Look, but I'm just saying, I know that those 3 are, but I don't know if if it's mugbal to that, right?
Whatever.
I don't know. Right.
Did you put Benjamin Franklin in with it?
I said.
Yeah.
I said Ben Franklin,
Thomas Jefferson, and George Washington. Sounds like a good trio. Yeah. But anyway, the Rav is saying that's b'mikra. This is talking about
that the Indian of the Avos played out the philosophical meaning. They were a gilui of the Indian of that number. However, this is we didn't mention this in the shir. It's a little bit tangential to the etzem yesod, but that's mamish the pshat of what's going on over there. You should know. I mean, like I said, Rav Isaac Chaver has a long pirush on this, trying to explain that Shisha Sidrei Mishnah is mamish. The Sidrei Mishnah is what brings out the philosophical concept of 6. Reb Tzadok says like this: 5 is flat, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a center. Torah without Torah Shebal Peh is flat, right? There's not a single mitzvah you know how to perform. 6 is the 6 edges of the 3 dimensions. Torah comes to life, Torah comes to life with the Shisha Sidrei Mishnah. Without the Shisha Sidrei Mishnah, Torah would remain flat. It would stay on paper, right? All right, look, this is not.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just saying, but not so it in. This is I once typed up, and not in a way that I'm happy with, a pirush on the Echad Miyodea. It's connected, and like I said, it's. These things are enumerated in the Echad Miyodea. The pshat is these things play out the musag of that number. The musag of that number. Numbers themselves are concepts. They are pure concepts. Right? 3 inches, you could find me a lot of cheftzas that are 3 inches. Right? But I'm going to challenge you now. I want you to show me a pure 3. Not 3 inches, and not 3 yards, and not 3 millimeters. I want you to show me 3. You can't. Because it doesn't exist in physical reality. Right? So we brought, this is very chashvazach, we brought from Yaakov Weinberg that he once had a debate with an apikoros, a university professor that was once, in Europe he was a yeshiva bachar, and pre-war Europe, and he went off the derech, right? He used to tell stories. He had a series of debates with this man from when he was Rosh Yeshiva in Ner Yisrael, Toronto, back in the 60s. Anyway, so I'll call upon him and asked him like this. Many of the early Rishonim say an argument that anything that has a beginning has an end. Kamala the Chosel Vos makes this point also. Anything that has a begining has an end.
It's in Rav Sadi going, and Musa Deis he deals
Right.
with this, right?
Right. Everything, Rav Sadi Gaon says this, and also says it. So he asked Rosh Yeshiva, they were wrong. You see, you can't rely on their medieval thinking, right? Because I'll give you an example, something that has a beginning and no end. Positive integers. Right? So Rosh Yeshiva said, well, you have to bring me a ride for something that really exists, physically. They were talking about something that, physical existence. Positive integers don't exist. They're in the mind. They're pure concept. Right? But you want to talk about something that's 3 inches long. Yeah, it starts here, it ends there. You said positive integers, right? Because positive integers don't exist in physical reality. They're pure ideas. Right? So now, let's take a greater look at this inyan. It's a davar nifla ad ma'od. About the pure number. That because it is, some very early Greek philosophers, the guy Zeno, who was before Aristotle, that because it is, he confused himself with this. Right? After noting how many fractions are there between any two numbers, even if they're very small numbers, infinite fractions. So Imam has one of his, gave him a headache. So if you shoot something at a door, how does it ever get there? It has to get through infinite fractions to get there. But really the teruts to that is because the infinite fractions are in the mind. Quantity is limited. The inyan of how a number has infinite fractions between any two numbers is mitzad the musag. It's a mental activity to divide things into fractions. It's not. So it's mitzad the musag. It's not mitzad the kamut. Right. Similarly, if I want to express, there's what's called the irrational number. Right. If I want to express in decimal, I want to express in decimal 1/3. Even if I'm talking about 1/3 of a very small pi, so it'd be 0.3333, and I could be writing 3, for eons, and still not be finished expressing mathematically, a very small quantity. Right. So, and again, we go back to the famous idea: there is no highest number. The very fact that you see that there is no, from this very last nakuda alone, let alone the nakudas that we point out about the infinite fractions between two numbers. And then for this last nakuda, you see that the pure number is not a stira to Ein Sof, because it's nimshach ad Ein Sof. A kamut, a quantity, is a stira to Ein Sof, but the pure number isn't. As a matter of fact, it could be said like this, and this is what the Mekubalim say. The Mekubalim are mamish omed on this inyan. Right? It's in the Goyin. It's also in the Ramak before him. Right? Spheres. Esser spheres. Something which, all the Mefarshei Sefer Yetzirah agree on. Esser spheres blima right? Midasam ein lahem sof. It's a Mishnah in Sefer Yetzirah. There are these Esther spheres that have no known essence. What their essence is beyond us, and their midah is ein lahem sof. Even though it's only 10, their midah is ein lahem sof. Right? And the one thing that the Mefarshim of the Sefer Yetzirah agree on is that the Esther spheres in Miloshin Mispar, and that's why all humanity counts base 10, a Masoret from Adam Arishon, that all has to do with the side that the world's built with Esther spheres, which expresses itself with the Asara Ma'amoros Shenivra Bahem Olam, that's beside the Esther spheres. So now everyone agrees that the Esther spheres, from them come Gvulim. The HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's what the famous Mishnah, we spoke about this later on, the Ramchal on the Mishnah in Avos. Basar Maos Nivra Olam. Now why was the world Nivra Basar Maos B'Manachad Yecholi Boros? So it's let's say Schar Tov Latzikim Shemakaimim Olam Shenivra Basar Maos V'Lipara Merushaim Shema'avdim Olam Shenivra Basar Ma'amoros. What does one have to do with the other? Because the world was created with Asar Ma'amoros, so the Tzadikim get schar for upholding the world, and Rishaim get punished for destroying the world. Not kesher, So says the Ramchal like this: the Ma'amar Echad Yacholi Boros would mean that Rebbe created the world with pure infinite power, his pure oneness, his pure infinite power. A world like that we could not add to and cannot detract from. And therefore there would be no way to earn reward and no way to deserve punishment because you haven't done anything. Because you can't affect the world that's bigger than you. Right? The world was Nivra Basar Ma'amoros beside the Esther spheres because now the world is Gvuli. Now the world has Gvul. And in something finite, you could add to finite and you could detract from finite. And therefore it gives room to have Schar Tov L'Tzadikim and Lipar Marashoyim. So everyone agrees, the Esther spheres is the system. No, it's basic Kabbalah. Basic Kabbalah everyone knows. The Esther spheres is the system that give us the world as we know it. That's B'Gvul, B'Mida. The sphere is also called B'Lashon Nigla Midas. Sphere of Chesed is called Midas HaChesed, right? It creates a world of Midah. A world that's in measures, and that gives us work to do, that we can add and detract from it. But here's the knech. Midah comes from the spheres. The spheres themselves, what did the Sefer Yetzirah said? Midasan ein lahem sof. Their midah is without end. The Esther spheres is the pure concept of numbers. The pure concept of numbers. From which Gvul results from, but it in itself is Beli Gvul. And this is what the Mekubalim, say, this is the explanation, what they say, that before the Tzimtzum, the Esther spheres were Nichlal in the Ein Sof. So everyone, is sort of baffled. Right? Without everyone's baffled, right? There's God, there's Ein Sof plus spheres.
What's
right?
the Lashon before the Tzimtzum?
The spheres were Nichlal in the Ein Sof, included in the Ein Sof. Right? So so people, the uneducated, right, are baffled by the statement. Right? Does that mean that God is Ein Sof plus spheres? I mean, his energy. We're talking about his power, not his essence, right? His power is Ein Sof plus spheres. There's like infinity plus finity. Or Chas v'Shalom saying the other way, that God was Mit Gashem, from Ein Sof to spheres, Mit Gashem and divided. God forbid. Both are unthinkable. Both would be a terrible Pegia and Achdusai. Right? But what the Mekubalim mean is that the spheres, which are kivyachol numbers, the pure number is not a stira to Ein Sof. The pure number is nichlal in Ein Sof, and as a siman ledavar, that it's nichlal, the pure number, not the quantity. The quantity is mishtalshel from the number. So gvulim are mishtalshel from the spheres, but the spheres themselves have no gvulim. Midasam ein lahem sof. Right? The pure number, right, is call it like this, the way Moshe Shapiro told it to us in Shir. The pure number is the aspect of infinity that has been revealed to you. And that's why there is no highest number. That's why between two numbers there's infinite fractions. Because the number itself is the aspect of Ein Sof that has been mitgalet to you. But it itself, from it comes quantity, but it itself is not a quantity. It itself is not a steer to Ein Sof.
The other side of the equation is more puzzling, though. The idea, if you say Eser is Nichlal, but as soon as you say Eser Spheres, so then again, it's like that the formula that the Rav was saying before. Now you've related the number to a Hefza, as abstract as a Hefza may be, but still putting the numbers in context.
No, but Sphere, there's the Mukbal, it says Sphere is Melashon Mispar. Sphere is itself Melashon Mispar. 10 it's really 10 numbers. Okay. That's the same, and I neglected to point out that they say that Sphira Milashon Mispar.
No, I think the Rav said it. Okay,
yeah.
Just have to make sure that I understand.
Right.
Right. And we never find that the sphere is being described in any way as having gul. Well, let's maybe
not mitzad themselves, mitzad the kalim. Not mitzad the etzem. There's the atzmus sasirs and the kalim. There's long baruchs in the Ramak on this. Shar atzmus v'kalim. The atzmus of the spheres is Ein Sof. There's what's called the kalim of the spheres. As it were, the kalim that the spheres' energy is channeled to, and from the kli comes the gvul.
Okay. But still, there's still a philosophical problem. I'm sorry. I just have to make sure I have clarity about it. As soon as you say 1, 2, 3, and attach it to even something as abstract as Sphira, but how can they not be a stira to Ein Sof when they themselves can't even be nichlal in each other?
Well, they are nichlal in each other. That's what's incorrect. That the Esther spheres are not 10 distinct bodies. They are concepts.
I know you mitzaref midas with each other.
No, but the tziruf of midas, which is how it's mishtalshel to us, that's mitzidenu, that the midas have to be incarnate. But in the pure spheres, the midas are in a perfect achdus. That which we see them as distinct and separate is only mitzad our perception. As it were, we categorize them as separate spheres, as it were. But they're pure ideas. Of course, this is it's a lot deeper than this because we're talking about mitzad atzmus. There's something else called the kalim, that the kli does have a gvul, but that's kalim, not the or. But the kalim that the or goes into, that's something else. All right. But it's a very choshev yesod that the etzem number, which is beside the spheres, are not a stira to Ein Sof. So it's not called Chasron HaKosher was mitgashem when he did the symptoms. That's spheres is an aspect of Ein Sof that you see. Just from this concept is mishtalshel gvul, but in itself is not gvul. Good. So now the in the minyan of Bnei Yisrael. So of course, when you count, right, it's sort of a call it a mixed blessing, right? On the one hand, there's chashom ayin hara, but on the other hand, there's chashivas, of davar sheba minyan. Right. The Indian of counting klai, so it's called that Am Yisrael gets gedula. It's besod that Am Yisrael gets the power of the pure number. But since this could also be mistaken as giving Am Yisrael a quantity, so for this, the way the method of counting was that you counted the coins, the machzis hashekel. So as it were, the quantity aspect is chal on the money. Or another Lashon Zor is that the money is mechaper for that, the quantity aspect. Actually, the equation is the same. But Klaiso gets the pure number. So the quantity aspects, there shouldn't be a magefa, there shouldn't be an ayin hora, whatever you want to call it. So mitzvah that the quantity aspect is chal on the money, but Am Yisrael gets the chashivas of the pure number. Which really means that Am Yisrael is the aspect of mispar, like as in sphera, that sphera is, the spheres are, achuz in the Ein Sof, perpetually. Right? And of course, it all means that we're rooted in the Rebbe Shlom's machshava, and Rebbe Shlom's machshava is the Torah.
How is that statement relating to what you were talking about, the counting of Klal Yisrael, giving it chashivas?
Right, so that the meaning of Am Yisrael is that we have Am Yisrael. It has the pure called it counting. Am Yisrael is called giving them gedula.
Right.
Giving them gedula. Right. Giving them gedula is that Am Yisrael has zochet to the pure number, the mispar b'tar, which is connected the spheres, right? Which is means the number meets which is achuz, which is connected to Ein Sof, as opposed to the quantity.
Right.
As opposed to the quantity aspect was chal on the money, right? But I say this is a hachana for Matan Torah. We always start Sefer Barmidbar before Matan Torah. Right? Am Yisrael is the Am that's mushrash in Rebbe Shlom's machshava, his infinite machshava, from which the Torah comes. The Torah's yotzia is machshavto yisbarach. His infinite machshava, Torah's beside the Ein Sof, parallel concept to the Ein Sof, as the Nefesh Chaim says in Shar Daled. Right. Torah is a parallel to him. That's why Torah has no end. It's aruka meretz midor chava miniyam, and that's why Torah should always be new, because it would get old and boring if it was finite. It should always be new to you, because it really is new. It's infinite. Right? Am Yisrael has to find its kesher to infinity, and the kesher to infinity is mitzad, the pure number. The pure number. If Am Yisrael zochet to the pure number is connected to infinity. And that's the big break that we need. We spoke about this a few times. The hachana for Matan Torah is counting, mispar, usfartem lachem. Now, during the first 49 days, which are the days that we actually physically count, we don't actually count 50. We're supposed to make it to, Torah said as if Tishbu Chamishah, but we don't actually count the 50th day. The 49 days that are mamish counted, right, is not a coincidence that 49 is Gematria Mida, Mem Daled Hey. Because the first 49 days, that are 7 times 7, all the permutations of the 7 is the aspect of spheres, that have become midas. I mean, as it were, relative. This is all relative. The lower 7 spheres, relative to the first 3, which remain pure concept and never become non-pure concept. Keser Chachma Bina, Ratzon Chachma Bina, right? Those 3 spheres they never become kamut. Hi, Betzal. All right, I'm going to be there roughly 11:15, 11:30. Roughly 11:15 or 11:30 I'll be there. 11:15 or 11:30. Now I'll be there in about a half an hour. Half an hour. I'll be there in a half an hour. Okay, I'll see you. Yeah. Right, Keser Chochma Bina, as it were, never become kamut.
It's okay.
Yeah. Almost done. Never become kamut the same way. Hello? I don't know. I thought you would call me and I'd pick her up. I thought she would call me and I'd pick her up. I mean, I don't know if she's going to call me. That's what I assume. What? Phone's packing up. Anyway. Right, so...
Yeah, the rabbi was saying that these 3 meters never become kamut the same way as the 7 lower
Right,
ones.
right. Oh, again, the etzem meter doesn't become, because the 7 meters kayadua, the 7 low ones are meters, are actions. Chesed Gvur Tiferes, these concepts, from them are mishtalshel, physical actions, or things that we actually call, even in our jargon, midot. Midat HaChesed, Midat HaGvura, Midat HaTiferet. As a word, the top 3, from them is not mishtalshel gvul the same way. They remain ideas. They always remain. Whereas these ideas, like again, the 7 lower spheres are also pure concepts, but from them is mishtalshel dvarim b'mida. And that's why 49, which is all the permutations of 7 times 7, is gematria mida, mem daled hey. And of course, we have to work bottom up. First, we have to do tikkun hamidus, but we need to break through to the shalosh rishonos. Right? The 50th is to break through the bina, and kayadu the first 3 are all much closer intertwined. They're the shloshar chashuv ka'achas. Because just like in the mental process, where Chachma ends and Bina begins is almost indiscernible. It's all one. All the 3 mental activities happen simultaneously. They're not. But we need to break through from Mida to Ein Sof. So first of all, this just explains why the 50th is not counted. Because it's not shach to the physical count, because it's already beyond. We broke through from Mida to Ein Sof, from Kamut to Ein Sof. First, Tikkun Midas is obviously the first step. First be metakin the Midas, and then you could hope to break through from Kamut to Ein Sof. Right? And the 50th already, so Tispur Chamishim Yom. Yeah, Mispar leads to Ein Sof. Right? But at the 50th, you're at Ein Sof already, or something that's like Ein Sof. So it can't be counted the same way that you counted the others, because it's not a unit. They're not units anymore. It defies measure. It defies measure. It's outside of Midah. Right? How do you break through? How do you break through? How are you zeicha that you break out of that you're zocha to number that's not a quantity, number that connects to Ein Sof. That should be number and not quantity. The answer is Meisim Atzmo Kamidbar. Right? You have to view yourself as unfinished and undefined. What was the Lashon of Chazal? You have basically the end, Chazal in this week's parasha. That only in Thursday the Mason Eish b'mayim v'midbar, mam midbar hakol dashim ba. Everyone walks in. There's no gvulim in the midbar. There are no boundaries. I think the Sifrei Chassidus say midbar miloshin davar. Yeah, it's like midbar. It's like just like a word, like loshin dibur. It's a concept. In the sense that it's not mugbal. It's wide open space. As long as a person doesn't chap himself as a finished product, he hasn't given himself a gvul. He hasn't given himself a definition. So Mela, for him, the number is not a kamut because he never considers himself finished. He never capped himself.
Which number are you talking about
Any
now
number.
that he doesn't? Oh.
Any number. No, but Meisim Atzuk Midbar it was vital for Am Yisrael to go into the Midbar before Matan Torah. And that's the key to B'chol Yom B'necha K'chadoshim. Right? We said Torah itself is infinite, and that's why it should always be new, because it would only get old and boring for finite. And it would be the same old story, and it's not, it's infinite. So why do I get bored? Because I look at Torah with yesterday's eyes. So that's why it looks the same as yesterday. Why do I look at Torah with yesterday's eyes? Because I think I know it all. So I've given myself a gvul. But if I view myself as midbar, as wide open, unfinished space, there's no limit. So Imela, for me, the Daf Gemara, even though the Daf Gemara is definite words, but those definite words are like the pure numbers, concepts. But and there's no limit, to the pure concept. Right? But if I think I know it all, right? So I'm going to look at those words as quantities and not as numbers. And that's why the Torah is going to look the same to me, day in, day out. So what's the antidote? That Meisim Atzok Midbar. Bayom Hazeh Bo Midbar. That's why the remez that Torah should always be new. Bayom Hazeh Bo Midbar Sinai. You want Torah to always look new. You have to be kind of the midah of Midbar. The midah of having no ego, of not taking up space, and with that, with that inyan, that's the key to break through from midah to Ein Sof. Right. So, by the way, this explains a medrash we neglected to mention. There's a medrash in this week's parsha says, "La'asi lavo," all the midbarot are going to flourish, and that's like many psukim in Navi. But what's a little bit less apparent, says the medrash, is that all the yishuv is going to be nechrav, hafuch. La'asi lavo, just like not only will the desert blossom, and that's mefurish in the Navi, but hafuch, all the yishuv is going to be nechrav. Right? It's a davar nifla ma'od. Right? Because Lasin Lava, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to want to be manhig in Ein Sof relative to the way he's doing now. Only the midbar is going to be able to take it. But all the yishuv that considered itself a finished product is not going to be able to take the infinite energy, and it's going to be nechrav. Similarly, Lasin Lava, Jewish people are going to be the only nation around. See, the Goyim, the Shivim Umos, they don't come from Mispar, they come from Gvul. Like what I've said, once you come to the difference between number and quantity, Klal Yisrael has number. The Goyim have quantity. Right? Lo mirubchem v'achar Hashem b'chem kiatem ha'kohanim. Klal Yisrael doesn't have quantity. Klal Yisrael doesn't have quantity. Klal Yisrael doesn't have quantity. We have number. We don't have quantity. The Goyim, they have roiv, they have a lot. They're quantity. But when things will be beyond quantity, they'll be bottle, and we'll be the only ones around. Right? And with this, we get back to the Haftorah that we read. The Haftorah we read in Parshas Barmidbar, opens up with a pasuk in Hosea that's seemingly an oxymoronic pasuk. V'haya mispar b'nei so kechol hayam asher lo yimad v'lo yisafer. The number of Klal Yisrael is going to be like the Chol Hayam, which cannot be measured and not be counted. So it's a stira minei ubei called Mispar b'nei so. You say Asher lo mad v'lo yisafer. No. Klal Yisrael is going to be the pure number asher lo yimad, that has no midah, no measure. V'lo yisafar, can't be physically counted. But the goyim who are rav, they have quantity. So when HaKadosh is going to be manik lemala from gvul, because quantity, no matter how big it is within gvulim. When HaKadosh is going to be mahapich the hanhaga, to be manik in Ein Sof, they'll all be bottle, because their shorish is in gvul. Our shorish is in the pure number. And that's why we don't have quantity. You understand the am? Because that's why Am Yisrael doesn't have quantity on their side. We're the ma'at mikol ha'amim. Because we're not in quantity. We're the pure number. We're the pure number that is asher lo yimad v'lo yisafer. And that's what we have to break through to on Shavuos, from the Omer to Shavuos. From the Midah, asher yimad, from the Midah to the Ein Sof, asher lo yimad v'lo yisafer. Right? And that's where Klal Yisrael is and the Goyim aren't. That's why Har Sinai, Sheyard Sina La'akum, or Har Chorev Sheyard Churban La'akum, because when we break through the Ein Sof, they're not there anymore, because their shorish is in the quantity, their shorish is in the Gvulim, and we're mushrosh in the pure number. And that's why we don't have quantity. Because we're the pure number, Asher Lo Yimad V'Lo Yisafer. Right? And that's what we have to break through. And the way to break through is midbar. Mesim atzmo midbar. Right? Am Yisrael, views itself as an unfinished product, and therefore there's always, ayin, and there's always room for more. Be a Talmud Chacham, the eternal student. Not a Chacham, a Talmud Chacham. Right? The eternal student, always wanting more. And that's the inyan of the special Kabbalah of Erev Shavuos. Erev Shavuos, the 49th day. Because on this day, we have to break through. I mean, it's not Purim Torah, what the Siach Sarfei Kodesh says. Right? To chazer all 49 days. Because the 50th day is not plus one. It's not another unit further. It's a whole different dimension. We break out to the Ein Sof, and the only way is by deepening our commitment. Right, the only way is by deepening it. It's not plus one. It's not one more step. We're talking about going from midah to infinity. So it's not one more step. It's not one more midah to be kaina. It's mamash trying to connect numbers to their shorish in infinity. That's why chazer all the 49 together and be megala their common shorish in infinity. And that's the necessity for the new Kabbalah. Right? Because the Kabbalah of Gimel Sivan, or Dalet Sivan, I forget which was, right, is just stam obedience. Kosher Dibra Hashem Naseh. But the new Kabbalah of Malchus Sheba Malchus, which is called, like, as it were, Midbar Sheba Midbar, right? The new Kabbalah of Erev Shavuos is about deepening that commitment, to link the Mispar to the Ein Sof. And that's what it means, Naseh V'Nishma. That we're going to hear, we're going to hear Chidushei Torah b'li soif. So deepening the commitment of Nasa to be Shomea more and more and more and more and more. To be Shomea L'olam Vod. To hear, the Kol Gadol V'lo, the infinite sound of Torah that never ceases. That's the necessity of the new Kabbalah, which is connected, reviewing all the 49, all the 48 together. Right? That we're not talking about plus one. We're talking about breaking out from number to Ein Sof. And that was the tzarech of the new Kabbalah. It's not obedience. It's about deepening the commitment to enter the pneumius of numbers, which is Ein Sof. All right, that's all you explained. All right.
It was